beautiful soul. Welcome to the Quantum Business Queen podcast. This podcast is a vortex for activating wealth, riches, and boss bitches. It is here that I teach multi-dimensional business. Our content will fall under 3 different categories: 5D quantum creation, 4D frequency alchemy, and the most potent 3D strategy. Every aspect of business that contributes to the creation of success is covered here. Plus, I will be personally interviewing the most amazing boss bitches that are at the forefront of the game, paving the way for money, magic, and magnetism in business. Let's get ready to activate all of that within you. Yay! Oh my God, Sarah, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to talk to you. I am so excited how, I just feel like how we met is kind of magical, and our journey together as friends is just beginning, and there's so much more magic to come. But I'm so excited to introduce my community to you, and I want to talk about your journey and everything that you've been through. And we talk a lot about manifestation, and girl, you are a hardcore manifester. So amazing. So everybody, welcome Sarah to the podcast today. Sarah, can you take us back to the start of your journey and just, give us some insight into what you've been through and how you have evolved into who you are now?
Yeah. For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. Absolutely love your podcast. And to everybody listening, Sarah and I met in person not too long ago. And I do have to share the alignments that were there for us to meet just quickly. So we met at a friend's house. Her name's Sarah. I'm Sarah. We're both Sarah. Turns out we're both Geminis, and there's so many other aligned things for us. So I think the universe put us at that front door at the same time, literally. So very grateful. So thank you very much. And so a little bit about me, and what I always think is important to share is some of my backstory and some of the truths behind my life, because a lot of what people will see me now on social media, it can look sometimes quite glamorous. I do work as a model and in the content creation space. I'm often at different events doing fancy things, wearing fancy clothes. But there is a lot of my life which went through a lot of hardship starting from a very young age. So I think it's so important to share where I've come from and the work that I've had to do to overcome that, but also to share that no matter what you go through in life, there is always light at the end of the tunnel, and that you always have the power within you to change any of the hardships that you go through. So some of that for me when I was a child, I did grow up in a home that had addiction in it. So right from when I was born, there was addiction in the home, and that became very normal for me when I grew up. And we did go through a period of homelessness when I was quite young as well. So the interesting thing about my life is I have been able to see very different dynamics from a young age. So whilst I was going through homelessness and the banks had repossessed our homes, I also actually had been previously attending a private girls' school. So, and the reason I share this is because I've had insight to the very different worlds that exist all at the same time. Yes. And quite often in my life, I've lived in multiple worlds at the same time. And I think a little bit of that has become my superpower, because it's meant that I do find it very easy to relate to people, and I always have respect for people regardless of where they are in life and regardless of what they do or who they are. So
makes you so amazing. So can I just pause you there for a second? And I just want to hone in on some points. And I think this is why, like, Sarah, you are an incredible manifester.
Thank you.
Like, it's wild, like some of the things, even just today before we hit record on this podcast. So I think it's really interesting when you talk about coexisting in 2 different worlds and how it relates to manifestation, because I think the other thing this has probably enabled you to do is you've had the evidence of like extreme potentially poverty and all these sorts of things, but at the same time, your mind opened itself up to possibility of still having whatever you wanted to create in terms of manifestation.
100%. And I even have an example of that from when I was a young girl, and now as a conscious manifester, as an adult, I recognized that I was actually manifesting from the moment that I was born, and that we all are manifesting. It's just whether you can become conscious to that or not.
Yeah.
But one cool example, I was only, I think, 10 years old, and we were going through that hardship period of being homeless and then being placed in commission housing. And a lot of my friends were going on holidays, and that really wasn't something that we could afford to do as a family.
Yeah.
But I always thought, how amazing would that be? That'd be really cool to go on a holiday. And I was never of the mind that it wasn't a jealousy thing for me. I would just thought, that's so cool. I want to go there as well. My friends are going there.
Yeah.
And one of my friend's mum randomly called my mum, and I was only 10, and said, hey, we're going on a Gold Coast trip. We'd love to take Sarah. And I think, I'm not sure whether my mum could put in for it or not. And they said, no, not to worry at all. We're going to pay for everything, all expenses paid. And that was probably like one of the early stories for me. And they just continued on from there, where, I guess the evidence would show literally I had no money, or my family wouldn't have had money to contribute for me to do these trips. But that continued on through up until now, where I potentially haven't had any money in the bank, but, even in my early 20s, I had some friends who were from China, and they actually paid for me all expenses trip. I've traveled all over China, and they paid for me to go to their wedding. And when I tell these stories, people are like, what? But It's true. I've done it. And highly recommend a China trip. It's pretty cool as well. So, but yes. So it's very powerful.
It's the example of you not being plugged into what I call the evidence distortion. So it's like people, oftentimes when it comes to manifestation, they get themselves stuck in a trap of, well, the evidence is saying this and the evidence is emanating this and it's making me feel like shit because this is the evidence of my physical reality. But at a young age, you have been primed to transcend the evidence distortion, which is what makes you a crazy, powerful manifester. So
I was going to say as well, I think with that, something that's really powerful and something that you hear in the business space a lot, and I always recommend, is get in the rooms and get on the tables. Yeah. And so I was able to do that. And I think my mum was really doing that for me. She knew the power of that, I don't know if she thought of it of manifesting, but she knew the power of being in the rooms with certain people and how that can elevate you. So for her, sending me to this school was really important, even though it was only for 4 years. Yeah. She knew that she would do everything she could to put me to that school, because it surrounded me with people whose families were making crazy amounts of money and traveling all over the world. So whilst we couldn't do that as a family, I know that my mum saw the power of making sure I was in those rooms and seeing the possibilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So thanks, Mum.
Yeah. Oh, thanks to all the moms who are amazing out there. It's so amazing. So you had these contrasts of experiences. You had the struggle, you experienced, losing your home. And then you, at the same time, were at this amazing school. And so, but also you were in an environment of addiction, so that would have been really tricky as well. How did these experiences shape your desire to drive self-love? This is your whole message, and this is what you embody right now.
It is, yes. So my business is called the Self-Love Supply. So as in the name, it's all about self-love and encouraging people to prioritize self-love. Yeah. Basically, for me, a lot of that came from my journey with body image specifically. Yeah. So I think pretty much every single person listening can relate to possibly having struggles with body image. We've grown up in a world that's constantly told us that we don't look good enough. We need to change ourselves to be beautiful. And even once you achieve that goal, they'll make it another goal anyway. So the reality is you'll never achieve whatever goals they're setting. But for me, modeling was always a big dream of mine. I used to enter the competitions in the shopping centres. They used to have magazine modeling competitions, and I'd enter them, and I'd try and apply for agencies and anything I could to get my foot in the door. Yeah. And whilst I was doing all of that, I actually didn't have any acceptance for my body. I wasn't loving my body. If anything, I was really hating on my body, and I was trying to fit some mold that was just impossible. Yeah. So I actually was getting nowhere really with modeling through that period of time. Yeah. I wasn't getting accepted to agencies. I wasn't winning competitions. And it almost came to the point where I thought maybe this isn't for me. Yeah. I actually went to a competition that was open to all models, all sizes, doesn't matter what you look like, was very inclusive. And that particular event was a game changer for me because it opened my eyes to a world that I hadn't known. And there were people of all different sizes walking the catwalk. And so I didn't win that competition, but it changed my entire perspective and made me think, hang on a minute, I've been trying for years and years and years to fit myself into some box that doesn't feel good and I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
The minute that I kind of dropped that guard and started doing self-work and inner healing and, you know, making sure I was following people that inspired me, that really changed everything. And so from going from hating my body to loving my body, that was my journey with self-love. And then it really spiraled from there. So
it's so,
yeah. And now I work as a paid model and I teach other
do.
people how to fall in love with their bodies too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So it's interesting. So you would have been in a world initially where it was like you weren't, it was a desire within you to be a model, but then you were following the path and it probably didn't feel fully authentic to you because
yes,
initially it was the path of you trying to fit in
yeah.
and you were trying to manufacture, squeeze yourself into this thing and that no traction energetically.
Yeah, it didn't work. Yeah.
And then the second you aligned to authenticity where it's like, no, I'm just going to own this. I'm just going to own who I am. I'm going to love, and boom, the momentum started.
Yeah. And the same for my social media. So I remember back in the day, I would always use filters and I would be very curated with what I posted on social media. Yeah. And the minute that I had that mindset change about my body and how I present myself to the world and just being happy with who I am, I started doing the same on my social media. And immediately that's when my following started growing and the opportunities started coming in. And even with modeling as well, at that point, I wasn't a signed model. And the opportunities that were coming in are things that people work years and years for. You know, I had Lululemon DM me and say, we want you to model for us. And that was one of my first major modeling jobs was Lululemon, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But this is so crazy. Like if you look at this from an energetic perspective, they say like when you look at the scale of frequency and energy and you think like love is the highest frequency, but they say no, it's actually authenticity. And this is a prime example of you shifting into the energy of authenticity and the universe just scooped you up and said, let's go. And that's what happened.
Yes.
We were talking yesterday because Sarah and I had lunch yesterday and we were like, how many things have just landed in your lap? Like how many things have I gone for? We're not trying for this. It just happens. Things just start coordinating and clicking into place. And it was all just a shift in embodiment for you that propelled your whole career.
Yeah, 100%. And it's been so powerful.
It's so powerful because again, you would have been in the place where the evidence, you live in this world where the evidence just doesn't show itself, but you're just like, well, it gets to happen anyway. And it does.
Yes. Yeah. And I've found with me personally, say over the last 4 years where I've really been consciously manifesting, the evidence perhaps continues to show I may not have had the money in the bank, but I'm going on these incredible opportunities and to these incredible events and wearing these incredible outfits. And I perhaps didn't pay for them, but the brands reached out to me and sent me the clothes. And then, you know, the agency sent me to this amazing event. And then another restaurant emailed me and said, we'll cover your dinner. So I necessarily didn't have the money in the bank, but I had the opportunities still coming to me. So I think that's a really amazing way to see it because we look for that evidence like, oh, I don't have the money in the bank, so I'm not going to be able to go for a fancy dinner this month. But actually a restaurant would just email me and say, hey, come and have a fancy dinner like they did actually Monday night. So yeah.
You're like, okay then, I will do that.
Yeah.
Oh my. So do you feel like you've had this belief then, like no matter what's happening, it gets to whatever I want can come anyway? You've been detached from needing the evidence, and that's been your superpower when it comes to manifestation, would you say?
I think so. Yeah. I do have an inner belief that everything is possible, and I feel my desire or my passion towards sending my message out more in the world is because I think everybody is capable of this. They just need to be aware. So I think getting these messages out there, these podcasts and these conversations are so crucial because everyone has that inner power within themselves. You just got to tap into it. So
yeah, amazing. So can you talk about when it comes to your messaging, like I'm assuming it just wasn't like a flick of the switch overnight where you're like, oh, I'm really not loving myself into, oh, I love myself and I'm really authentic now. Tell us about what happened for you and what you had to navigate internally for you to go from point A to point B.
Yeah. So the minute that my mind was open to the possibilities of, hang on, maybe I can be a curvy model and I don't have to lose weight, and I can be a mum and be a model, and I can be a mum and this size and wear a bikini. The minute that those thoughts started flowing in my mind, I wanted to learn as much as I could. So I did a lot of different things. I started, reading books or listening to different podcasts because, the saying, if you can see it, you can be it. And there are people who have already done these things. So I started looking towards those people. I started, following Ashley Graham, who is a very famous and well-respected curve model. And I started seeing these people and I chose to tap into their worlds. And that's how I got myself to where I am today. So I did lots of different modalities, and I'm always open to different methods of learning and healing. Breath work was a very big one for me, and it was a big trauma releasing one for me. I did a lot of inner child work with breath work, and it's amazing what you learn from that. I did a couple of sessions. One of them was truly powerful, where it really took me back to a moment where I was a child, and I hadn't really been consciously thinking about this moment, but we did the deep breaths and it took me back to this moment. And it was actually where there was some family violence happening as a child. It took me back and I could see myself. I could see my brother there. We were sitting behind the couch. I was hiding. And I was in a moment where I thought I should call the police. I was very young. I might have only been about 9 or even 8 years old. And I was thinking, should I call the police? Because otherwise someone is going to get very seriously hurt. But then I was worried about calling the police because I might get in trouble and my family member might get in trouble. So it took me back to this, which I hadn't even thought about as an adult. And actually at this time, several years ago, I was really struggling with decision making. I would sit in self-doubt, and this is what I've done a lot of my life, where I've sat in self-doubt and I thought, no matter what I'm going to decide, it's going to be the wrong decision. And that for me has delayed a lot of time. It's brought me a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and a lot of worry. So when I did this breath work and it took me back to that moment and I sat with my inner child and I said to myself, none of that is your responsibility and you don't have to carry that. And regardless of what you did on that day, it doesn't matter because it's not your responsibility. So you don't. And I just really loved myself and embraced my inner child within me. And after that session that we did, my decision making was like that. And it's amazing that that experience was basically holding on to me, telling me that you're going to make the wrong decision. You're going to make the wrong decision. And I never knew why I felt that way. And yeah, so it's incredible what your body holds on to, because my body was holding on to that experience and my body was scared to make decisions because of that, what I'd gone through. Yeah. And after hugging myself and telling myself it's okay and you shouldn't have gone through that, I've been able to make decisions a lot easier. So.
Oh my God, that's wild. So that would have told you, like that experience would have said to your inner child, there's going to be a negative repercussion from this experience. So therefore, let's just stand back and not decide either way. Not making any sort of decision. So that day, did you end up calling the police or did you just not do anything?
I remember I actually called Triple O, but then I hung up when they were saying hello, hello. So I hung up. And obviously I was very distressed and, trying to help my younger brother, and we were just kind of hiding behind the couch. So yeah, and I'd always wondered why I really struggled with decision making. And I thought, why? Over little things, what coffee should I have or what toast should I have? It's so silly. And I thought, why do I feel this way? And when we did that breathwork inner child healing, you don't know what memory you're going to go back to when you're in that state. And that's the memory that it took me to. And I was able to heal that. And that in itself has been life changing. So there's so many powerful things that you can do when you're open to it. Yeah. And it will literally change the trajectory of your life. So.
That is so moving. I just want to sit in that for a second because that is just, wow. Yeah. That is so powerful, Sarah. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So when you were initially going back into the modeling world, was your initial intention as a curvy model to fit in with the streamlined type of stereotype? Was that your intention, to try to fit into that mold? And that's why
originally I wanted to fit into the most common modeling size, and I wanted to try and alter my body. So sadly, I did a lot of unhealthy things. I was over exercising, I was under eating, I was doing anything that I could to lose weight, and it actually became quite dangerous, and that's why I also put out a really important message about healthy looks different on everybody.
Yes.
Because there's such a misconception that health looks a certain way when actually someone could be a smaller size and not necessarily be healthy. And it can go either way. So I think that's a really important message to share. But yeah, I was doing a lot of that, and it's actually as soon as, and the same thing happened with when I was trying to apply for agencies. I was really writing all of these things and applying everywhere I could, and no one would accept me. And one day I actually said, you know what, I'm not applying for an agency. Again, I'm just freelancing. I don't care. I'm going to freelance model. I don't care. I'm not applying. That week, my current agency emailed me. I'd never spoken to them before, and they're one that I hadn't applied for. And they must have seen my socials, and they said, hey, we want to sign you. And then I said, oh, do you want to do like an interview? Most of them do. They said, no, we don't want to do an interview. They signed me immediately the week that I decided I'm never applying for an agency again.
So we need to talk about that, because there is so much in that energetically. I always, when anyone talks to me about any accomplishment or whatever happens, my mind is always reverse engineering what's happening energetically with that, because where people often get stuck, and I talk about this so much, is that when you understand the energetic world, it actually works the opposite to the physical world. So we are programmed to navigate physicality. We're programmed to navigate physics, like physical things. So if in our physical reality, if we don't want something here, we apply pressure to it, it moves further away from us. But the energetic reality, when we keep applying pressure, it actually holds the results further away. And so the second you stop applying pressure and the needy energy, or we just surrender and give up, it's so ironic that boom, the manifestation lands. And you see this with pregnant women.
Yeah.
They're like, I give up. It's not going to happen. Yeah. They fall pregnant. And so it's in that energy of total surrender where you just relinquish everything to the universe and stop applying that needy pressure. It's like we were talking about this yesterday. When you want something hard, it never comes through. And the second you surrender, it's like, boom, it lands. You finally make space for it to land. And so in that moment, you totally surrendered. And then how quick did it come?
That week I got the message. So yeah, it was amazing. And now that's who I'm currently signed with. So there you go. Yeah.
Okay. So that's who you're with now. And it's interesting when we were talking about this, when you're in surrender, when you're in complete ease, when you're not wanting things too hard, everything just unfolds and happens for you.
Yes.
And you've experienced that a lot, like with a lot of other things. Like you were talking about just like you like a crazy powerful manifester, but you also do it with like total ease. Can you link those two things together with the things you've experienced in your life?
For sure. I think it doesn't just happen if there's no energy or intention behind it. So I think that's so important as well, because some people who may not know much about manifesting might think, oh, you just make a wish and then it comes true. Doesn't quite work like that. There has to be a clear intention behind it. And I think your energy has to match that intention. So, I do have so many examples where we manifested our house. I even manifested the house number. Yeah. Literally, I wrote the number on the board.
Tell that story real quick.
I will tell that story real quick. Yeah. So my husband and I, we had our old house. It was a smaller unit. We had our son. We needed a bigger place. We actually sold that unit before we bought a new place. So we had a 3-month settlement, and I thought, oh, that's fine. We've got plenty of time. And I wasn't being specific. I was kind of being very vague about it. And I thought, oh, we're just going to find a house. It's just going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And then it got closer and closer and closer to settlement, and we didn't have anywhere else to go. And we had a house full of stuff. And I thought, okay, now we're getting a bit close to the time. We really need a house. We put an offer on other place. We didn't get it. So that's when I thought, hang on a minute, I'm not really setting clear intentions here of what we're looking for. I'm just being very vague and random. Yeah. So I wrote it all up exactly. I was very specific about what we wanted, the bedrooms, the area, the price point, the house number. I thought I'd be cheeky and throw the house number. I was like, I'm going to be a little bit cheeky here. I put 2 numbers. I had 2 options on a board. Anyway. So we'd seen this house that we're in now, and I thought, I'm not going to that inspection, because if you live in Melbourne in Australia, you all know that whatever the price point says on realestate.com, it's going over that price. So I thought, I don't want to go. It looks beautiful, but it's going to go above. So we didn't even go to the first open. Later in the week, they had another open, and I thought, we're not doing anything. It's open in half an hour. Do you want to go and have a look? So we came, we had a look, loved it, and we thought, oh, we'll put in an offer. Like, what's the harm? But we're not going to get it because it's going to go over. They call us. You've got the house. I thought, you're joking me, because I'm sure it could have gone for more. And yeah, we got the house, including the house number.
It was that easy.
Yeah, it was like that easy, but I had to have that intention behind it. When I didn't have any intention or any specific thought behind it, nothing was happening for me, because I actually hadn't even put out to the world what I wanted. I was just like, yeah, a house, but I needed to be more intentional than that. And once I had the intention there, then I had the trust behind it. And I thought, right, I've got the intention. I trust in this intention. And then it happened. And, you know, even when we came to put the sold sticker on the house, the real estate agent was laughing and he said, oh, I'm really surprised that the house owners said yes to you guys so quickly, because, you know, we had other people call and give offers of higher amounts. I don't know if they're meant to tell us like that, but higher amounts offered, but the family had already said yes to us. Apparently they really wanted a nice young family. So we were really blessed in that way as well. So had they have waited maybe 1 or 2 more weeks, they probably could have got more and given it to someone else, but it was meant to be our house. So
isn't it just crazy? Like, I don't know. I just feel like these stories, again, it's like we get so stuck in evidence and we let evidence dictate our manifestation so often, where it was like, I just feel like your stories lend itself to the fact I'm going to cuss. We live in a motherfucking hologram. Do you know what I mean? We live in this hologram that we are dictating through our beliefs. And it's like your intention, your beliefs drive your intention, and you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe to be true. And what you said is like, before you put that out there, you didn't have an intention and you didn't trust it, which means you didn't have the belief. And once you anchored that belief with your intention, it landed, and the evidence did not matter. You had other offers. It could have gone for way more, and yet you manifested it anyway.
Yes.
Like,
and the universe was like, all right, you were cheeky. We'll give you that house number. I still can't get over it. And it's actually the house number that I got. It's the house number that was our first property that we'd purchased together. And it's the house number that I grew up in as a child.
Oh my gosh.
So, yes. I need to look into more about this number.
Yeah, you do, girl. Oh my gosh. That is so wild. So can you tell us more about what you do? Let's go back into self-love. What you do, because people, it's like, oh, it's nice to hear about it. It's great as a concept, but how do you embody it? And I think, Sarah, that's again, another one of your superpowers. Number one, you're a crazy cool manifester and you're an amazing chick in general. But number two, you're able to embody one of the things that is the hardest thing for women to embody, which is self-love. And so tell us your journey to actually embodiment of that. It's one thing to say it, but can you live it and you own it? You tout it on social media and you were out there, and it's amazing. So how have you been able to do that? Because that is one of the hardest things for women.
Yep. Probably the biggest and yet the easiest and the most simple thing that has contributed to me having its self-acceptance and feeling so confident in who I am is gratitude. And it's so simple. And people say, oh, gratitude, say three things that you're grateful for. Is that it? And sometimes that's it, because I found that when I can sit in such deep gratitude for all the basic things that I have in life, anything extra is a bonus. So the fact that I woke up this morning and that I got to take my son to school and that I had food in my cupboard and I've got a water bottle here with fresh, clean water, I have everything that I need, and everything else is extra for me. So once you practice that, and I've been doing that for 7 years or 6 years, so it's not overnight. And you know, we're human beings. You're going to have a bad day. I might be super confident in my body, but there might be a day where I'm like, oh, I don't like that, you know, and that's going to happen because we're human. But the more that you can practice that gratitude, all of the things that you worried about, all of the body issues that you worry you don't look good enough, it actually doesn't matter anymore, because you're just grateful that you can breathe. You're just grateful to have food. You're just grateful that you get to see the sunrise. So it really can be that simple. When you start with just practicing gratitude every day, literally your life will change.
I really think that your childhood experiences would have amplified your
Mm.
ability to sit in gratitude for simplicity, like for the
Yes.
most basic of things, because
Yes.
you would have experienced as a child such hardships and
Yeah.
trauma. And, at times it would have felt like maybe even poverty when you
Yeah.
lost your house.
Yeah.
And being in those dark experiences has given you the superpower of being so amplified
Yeah.
in the most basic of things.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
powerful. Because
Yeah, you don't realize what you've got until it's gone. But
yeah,
I think what can be super powerful is when you sit in gratitude, you don't have to go through those traumas or those big experiences to get to this level of gratitude.
yeah.
You can set your mindset and practice it daily so that you feel this anyway. So I think if you're listening to this, you have the power to do that. You don't have to have been homeless when you were a kid like me.
Yeah.
You can just practice and be grateful for the roof that you have over your head daily, and that's enough.
And do you feel like being homeless as a child really makes you wake up to be like, fuck, I have a home and I love it. Do you think it was that experience that amplified that for you?
I think it definitely did a lot because, when that experience happened, we actually lived in a 2-bedroom unit, and so I was becoming like 9 or close to 10 years old,
Yeah.
and it was time for me to have my own room because I'd been
Yeah.
sharing with my little brother. So my dad actually split the kitchen, which wasn't very big already, but in half, and he put a wall up. I got to paint my room pink, and I really wasn't in there for very long. And then the police came and repossessed the house and padlocked it all up. So, and we went from that experience and I just had my new room. My dad bought a caravan for $50 from a neighbor. So not the greatest caravan,
Yeah.
but it was something. So we slept in that caravan for just over 6 months until we got into commission housing.
Wow.
So it was a lot for a little girl to go through, and she lost her pink room.
Yeah.
And so, I often think about that, but I am very, very grateful for what I have because I know that tomorrow, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and anything can happen. So be grateful for today and what you have today.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so
Yeah,
much for sharing
it's
that.
okay.
God, it's so powerful. I have to sit in that energy for
Mm,
a second. I
yeah.
I feel like so my journey as an entrepreneur and supporting other women in their journeys of entrepreneurship, one of the biggest things they struggle with is that exact
Mm,
thing, which is why they do not get ahead in business. It's
mm.
because this is wrong or this hasn't gone my way and I'm
And
like
comparison and always looking at what other
comparison
people are.
and
Yeah.
stuck in the evidence and their mind is fixated on everything that's going wrong. What do they perpetuate in their manifestations? Everything that's going wrong. But you are so amazing in that you've been through trauma as a child and you are able to still fixate on the light, which is why you still attract so much of it and why you're a powerful manifester. And I say to people, like, who are stuck in this, this hasn't happened or this doesn't work or this, whatever, this doesn't, such icky, gross, nasty energy. I'm like, walk through your reality that you are living right now through the shoes of someone who has nothing.
Mm,
You will see how abundant as fuck you are. Walk
yeah.
in your closet and see even if it's 3 pairs of shoes and the clothes
Yeah.
that you have, open your refrigerator through the eyes of someone who does not have food. You will understand how abundant you are. And I
Yeah.
think your life experiences as a child, although very traumatic, has
Mm.
been, it created a lens for you where you now can see abundance everywhere.
Yes, yeah. And I even used it the other night where my dryer was making a very weird sound, very concerning. And I thought, it'd be all right. And my husband's yelling, it's going to blow up. You've got to turn it off. I thought, but I've got to dry the towels, and I wanted the towels in the dryer because it makes them soft. And when you hang them on the line, they go crunchy and I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I started getting really annoyed at the dryer. I could feel it, when you feel it in your body, you're like, why is this happening, And I thought, I got to the dryer and I just had this thought in my mind of, wow, actually, I have a good washing machine that works fine. I have a clean area where I can go and hang out these towels, and I can buy a new dryer if I need one. I'm in a position where I can buy a new dryer if I really need one. And there's this saying at the moment, people may have heard it, but it's not that deep.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I said that to myself. I just took a deep breath and I thought, oh, it's not that deep. It's a dryer. Like, Sarah, get over it. And, similar to what you were saying with my experiences, my nationality is Samoan Australian.
Yeah.
So I've got lots of family over in Samoa, which is in the Pacific Islands. And I just thought to them, and they're hanging out there washing in spaces where there's a lot of dirt and, they're doing it out in the garden. I've got a full on proper clothesline, a clean washing machine. A lot of my other family have to go to the laundromat and there's nothing wrong with that, but I've got the benefit of having one in my house. So there's a lot that I have to be grateful for, even the simple things like that. And sometimes it's just not that deep.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's like, for those of you who are listening right now, I want you to really witness Sarah's programming, like how you were able to be in this, we all have fucking frustrating moments where it's like, oh my God, whatever. Immediately you switch to positive. You pattern interrupt that. You go down a path in your mind, your programming is able to pattern interrupt and be like, I am lucky. Actually, this does get to be okay. Actually, I do have. And this is what perpetuates all of these amazing experiences for you. So many people get themselves stuck in this victim mentality and they get addicted to their own density. Where you experience density, we all do. It's a human experience. But you're able to immediately, your program automatically switches you from, it's not that fucking deep. It's okay. I do have. It gets to be this. It will get better. Everything's fine. And you've been through a lot of shit. Like you've had some, like a lot of stuff we haven't even spoken about here.
Oh
that
no,
you still go through.
So much more.
So much more.
Yeah.
And yet you still hold the light. You still hold the light. So many people get stuck in the victim mentality. And I hate to say this, and yes, it might be triggering, and I don't ever want to diminish things that people go through, and especially, Sarah, your experiences. But no matter what you've been through, you still hold the light. And this is what true embodiment is, whether it's loving yourself, loving your body, having this tiny luxuries like a dryer or whatever.
Yeah.
If you hold all of those tiny things in the light, your world amplifies. It has to by law. And I feel like that's been such a powerful thing that you've been able to do. And it's a light that you emanate to the world. And hopefully people can see that reflection and embody that as well.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to loving self.
Yeah, it's hard because our whole lives, it's not something, I wish it was taught more in schools, and that's going to be part of my purpose, and what I do is to get this message more into schools because it's something that needs to be taught from a young age. Yeah. And I think the power in knowing that is that anything that you believe or the way that which we function in society is just how we've been taught to. Yeah. But it means that we can do things a totally different way. Yeah. We've been programmed to go to work and get married and have kids and do things in a certain order. Yeah. And it doesn't actually have to be that way. Actually, there are no rules. Actually, you can do what you want. So yes, I think once you come to acceptance with that and recognize that, then there's so much unlimited power within you.
Oh my gosh. Sarah, you are so amazing. Can you, number one, tell people what you're up to? You're going to be launching a course soon. Yes. Tell them what it's about. This is another way of you getting your message of embodiment out there. And then tell people how they can get in touch with you. So first, tell us about this course you're launching.
Yes. So we are launching a course through the Self-Love Supply. It's called the Self-Acceptance Project, and we're going to take you from self-doubt to self-love. So it's really that starting process of your journey. If you are ready to actually stop doubting yourself and feel more confident in yourself, and whether that's feeling confident in your body, feeling confident in the workplace to speak up, or feeling confident to speak up in your relationships, or just feel more confident in the world, we're going to teach you all that you need to know to get started on your journey. I think starting can be the hardest part. And so I know from experience that surrounding yourself with a community of like-minded people who are going on the journey with you will help you to get there so much faster, because we're able to we have a community that will help keep you accountable, that will cheer you on, and that will support you. And the reality is a lot of people who choose to go on this journey, you are doing it on your own. Of course you're doing it on your own, but there's most probably not other people in your circle who are doing it with you. And that's what happened with me. most probably your friends might not be doing something similar, or your family might not be doing it, and they might not get it and they might not understand, and that's fine. They don't need to. But having a group of people and a community of people who get it and who also want to achieve that will help you to get there so much faster. So that's what we're launching end of March. So if you follow us on the Self-Love Supply, and you can find it all from my socials as well at Sarah Viliamu. So
beautiful.
That's launching very soon.
Instagram and Twitter, they can find you, or not Twitter, sorry, TikTok.
TikTok. Yes.
Yeah.
TikTok. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So Sarah Viliamu is all of my main profiles. And then you can find the Self-Love Supply from there as well. So, and the powerful thing I'm excited about doing the courses is because I've had so many people from all over the country and all over the world say they would love to get involved with the Self-Love Supply, because in the past we've only run in-person events.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, we have to make this available to everyone, which is why we are launching the Self-Acceptance Project. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can be a part of this.
Amazing. So what I'll do is I'll link your socials in
Yes.
the show notes, and then I'll also link if anyone wants to submit their email so they can be a part of Sarah's email list. I'll pop it in the show notes as well. And I just want to remind people, like, you know, if you look at Sarah's story of coming from, you know, self-doubt, trying to fit in, trying to manufacture, trying to squeeze yourself into a box, to being the embodiment of self-love. The outcome is not just self-love. The outcome is landing the deals you wanted, finally manifesting the things you want, having the things in your reality, like, start dropping in. And that's the byproduct of what you think it's, oh, great, self-love. There's so much more that comes from as a byproduct of loving yourself rather than just feeling good in your body. It's so much more.
I always say, when you go on this journey and when you come to a place of self-acceptance and peace within your body, everything else in your life gets better. Your relationships, your intimate relationships, they get way better. When you're more confident in your body, let me tell you, that stuff gets really good. Okay. So we love that. But
we love
everything gets better. Your friendships, your connections, your opportunities, because you're moving through the world more easily, and life doesn't feel as heavy anymore because we carry so much on our shoulders that we don't have to. And life is just better.
It's really interesting because loving yourself is ultimately upping your standards with everything. And the universe always meets you at your lowest standard. And so when you love yourself, you're upping your standards. Everything by universal law has to shift for the better. And so Sarah's course is a process to show you how to anchor in and embody all of that. So you guys want to jump on this train, I'll pop all the links in the show notes. Sarah, do you have any last words to share? Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Thank you
for having me. I absolutely love this conversation, and I'm so excited to connect with more people, and excited to hear everyone and meet everyone.
Yay! Thank you guys. And again, look at the show notes if you want to connect with Sarah. And Sarah, thank you so much for being here. We adore you, and we'll have you back again soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today, beautiful soul. I hope you got so much gold and were activated in such a way that you could step into your highest timeline of abundance and freedom, because it is more than possible for you. If that desire has been planted in your soul, it is so deliberate. If you wouldn't mind, please rate, review, subscribe to this podcast so that we can get this message into the hearts and ears of more amazing light beings across the world. I would love to continue this conversation with you, so feel free to get in touch on Instagram at sarah.tynan.quantumcoach. If you're a Facebook person, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Sarah Tynan International. And please don't ever forget, if your desire is there, it's because your destiny is there too. You just have to remember who you are. Bye for now, beautiful.